Today I want to explore a pattern that a lot of traders and firms have seen. A trader develops on a floor. They're around other traders, around that energy, that shared interpretation, the urgency of other traders, that mutual trader alignment, or what happens on a floor, the pace, the energy of a floor, a shared sense of what matters. And inside that environment, and if that environment is competent and skilled, they often perform exceptionally well, sometimes unbelievably well. They start to trade alone. And over time, many of them start to underperform, sometimes by a little bit, sometimes a lot. So why? The usual answers are actually moral answers. They lost discipline. They got lazy. They must have got lazy. They became too emotional. They were dependent on the group. Maybe they were never that good to begin with, and they were just lucky. Now, sometimes those may be true, but I think that explanation is far too shallow and surface level because it assumes that trading performance lives almost entirely inside the individual. And I think that is wrong. I think that many traders don't just leave a room when they leave the floor. What they leave is a cognitive system, a system that was helping them perceive better, regulate better, think better, and perform better. And I want to explain that through three ideas. First, embodiment. Second, the idea that intelligence can grow through joining. And third, David Chalmers and the extended mind. Let's now define the problem properly. The puzzle is not that every remote trader gets worse. Some do fine. Some may even improve. But a lot of traders who looked sharp, stable, adaptive, inside a strong group environment start losing consistency once they operate alone. And what makes this interesting is that they still have the same basic tools, the same charts, same markets, same news terminals, same execution platform, often the same knowledge. So the question is, what changed? Here's the distinction that matters. There is a difference between knowledge and functioning. You can keep all the knowledge and still lose the conditions that allowed the knowledge to be expressed well. Now that matters because performance is not just about what you know. It is about what you can access and execute in real time, under uncertainty, under pressure, inside the right internal state. So the deeper question is this: what if the flaw was helping create that state? What if the flaw was not just giving information? What if it was helping regulate the trader? Because if that's true, then remote decline is not just a discipline problem, it's an architecture problem. There's a recent paper called Embodiment in Multimodal Large Language Models. Now, it's about AI, not trading. So I want to be careful with this. It doesn't prove anything directly about traders, but it gives us a very useful framework. The paper says intelligence may depend on two things: external embodiment and internal embodiment. So what's happening in the intelligence space? External embodiment means interaction with the outside world. Real feedback, environment, action, adaptation. Internal embodiment, now we look at internal embodiment, means internal regulation. State, monitoring, uncertainty, effort, control. And the big argument in the paper is that intelligence is not just abstract symbol manipulation. Human cognition is grounded in loops: internal loops, external loops, regulation, interactions, experience. That is very useful for trading, because a trading floor is not just a physical location. It is an embodied cognitive environment. That's the very first big shift in how I think we should see it. Not as a room, as a system. I want to say that again, not as a room, but as a system. Now let's start with the outside layer. A trader on a floor is not just looking at price. They are inside a field of cues happening all around them. Other people's reactions, tone of voice from across the room, speed of speech when a floor's silent, the urgency, the skepticism of challenging ideas, changes in posture, the sense that something matters at this specific moment, or perhaps doesn't matter. Those things shape attention, and attention is everything. A good floor helps assign salience. It helps answer what matters now, what is noise, what does deserve focus, what is potentially dangerous in a particular news theme, what is being missed. So one thing the floor does is improve shared perception. It helps traders notice the right things faster, accelerated intelligence, and it also speeds up error correction. Alone, you can stay trapped inside your own interpretation far too long without any being challenged. On a good floor, someone challenges you far sooner, corrects you sooner, slows you down sooner. That matters a lot. But that is still only half the story, because the deeper part is not just what the trader sees, it is the state from which the trader is seeing. This is the part I think people miss most. Traders are always being shaped by internal variables. We're always being shaped by these internal variables, such as fatigue, stress, confidence, hesitation. One of the big favorites, fear of missing out, fear of loss, boredom, that dopamine spike after a good trade or after a win, frustration, heavy frustration that weighs on us after a mistake. These things do not change how a trader feels. They change how a trader starts to see things. A dysregulated trader does not interpret the market the same way as a regulated trader. They see urgency where there is none. They see danger where there is actually opportunity. They force trades or they freeze. And this is where the floor may be doing huge, invisible work. A good floor can stabilize arousal, contain panic, reduce that drift, calibrate confidence, reinforce restraint. So here is the key point. A good training floor does not just give traders better ideas. It gives them that better state. And that matters more than most people will ever realize. Because when traders go remote, what often breaks first is not knowledge, it is regulation. That is why so many remote traders say, I'm in my own head, I'm forcing it. I know what to do, but I'm not doing it. I've lost my feel. Those are not usually signs of lost intelligence. They are signs of altered regulation. So remote trading is not just the same task in a different place. It is often a different state regulation problem together. And that brings me to the deeper metaphor. There's a passage in Daniel Dennett's book, From Bacteria to Bach and Back, that I think is incredibly useful here. It describes a major turning point in evolution. There was a time when life was made up of a simple single-celled organism. Then at least once, one cell engulfed another. But instead of destroying it, it let it live. And by sheer luck, that joined system became fitter, more capable, more competent in ways that mattered. And Dennett uses a great phrase. I love this phrase. He says, it became more competent than the incumbent soloist. That phrase is brilliant because it cuts right through one of the deepest myths in performance culture. We're talking from an evolutionary biology. The myth, the highest form of capability is the isolated individual. Dennett's point is almost the opposite. A great leap in complexity happened not through isolation, but through joining. Not by separation, but by merger. And he adds something else that matters just as much. Most mergers fail. Most mergers fail. Evolution depends on rare events that almost never happen. That matters for trading too, because not every group makes traders better. Not every desk is good. Not every collaborative environment is intelligent. Some create noise. Some create mass conformity. Some create passivity. So this is not an argument for group good, solo bad. It is more a precise argument. A rare, high-functioning flaw can create a kind of cognitive symbiosis. This is the phrase, I think, that matters. Cognitive symbiosis. Dennett describes this as symbiosis and even a kind of technology transfer. Two different sets of capabilities become joined into something bigger and better. That is a brilliant metaphor for a great trading flaw. Cognitive symbiosis. Because what gets merged on a good flaw, one trader brings pattern recognition, another brings composure, another brings macro understanding, another brings his timing skills on the price ladder, another brings restraint. A coach for the team can bring standards and inhibitory control, and the room itself can bring the overall rhythm and seriousness of certain occasions. No one person contains the whole thing, but together, something more capable emerges. And that may be why traders misunderstand their own success on the floor. They think they were simply around other people, but maybe they were part of a joined system. A system where perception was distributed, regulation was distributed, error correction was distributed, even identity was distributed. So when they leave and underperform, maybe they did not simply get weaker. Maybe they underwent a demerger. Maybe they got used to a more complex joined intelligence and then pulled themselves out of it. And not everyone can do that well, because the performance was not living neatly inside the individual all along. It was emerging from the merger. And to me, that is the deeper lesson. And it's what we speak about on our floors all the time. Not every merger works, but evolution does not need most mergers to work. It needs the rare one. That changes the game. And a great trading floor may be exactly the kind of rare event, like we have in multiple of our floors at Axia. Not a crowd, not a crutch, a productive symbiosis. Now, this is where David Chalmers becomes very useful. The extended mind idea associated with Andy Clark and David Chalmers says that cognition does not necessarily stop at the skull. When tools or environments become reliably integrated into thinking, they can become part of the cognitive process. That is a profound idea, because if that is true, then a high-functioning trading floor may be more than a place. It may be part of the trader's mind. Think about what the floor provides. We've mentioned this before: an alerting system, an interpretive filter, a brake on impulsivity, being challenged or challenger, a validator, a timing mechanism, an identity structure. Now, that does not mean the trader has no skill. It means the skill is scaffolded. It means cognition is distributed across person and environment. So when a trader says, I can still see the market, but I'm not the same, what they may really mean is the system that used to support my cognition is gone. That is why remote decline can be misread. It's called weakness, but often it is de-scaffolding. And that is a much better way to think about it. Because once you see it that way, your entire conversation changes and your diagnosis changes. You stop asking only, what's wrong with the trader? and you start asking smarter questions. You start asking, what was the environment doing for the trader that now has to be rebuilt? That is a much better question. In some trading cultures, collaboration is treated as weakness. Not at Axia. The ideal, as they say, is the lone wolf, the isolated operator, the person who needs nobody. All of that, I think, is extremely naive. In fast, uncertain, probabilistic environments, distributed cognition is a huge advantage. A good collaborative floor can improve. It can improve perception, it can improve timing, it will improve emotional stability, decision inhibition, it'll improve the rate of growth of your learning speed, it'll help error correction. Now that is not softness, that is intelligent design. And of course, not every group is useful, but a good floor never dilutes intelligence. It sharpens it. It gives it friction against self-deception. It reduces hallucination. We do it every day. It helps a trader stay inside a better operating range. So collaboration should not be seen as a crutch. It may be one of the highest forms of performance architecture. So if this is even partly right, then it has huge implication. It means firms and coaches should not think only about individual skill. They should think about cognitive ecosystem design. It's what we do at Axia. How is intention shaped? How is panic reduced? How good decisions reinforced? How is noise controlled? We have these team meetings on our floor all the time. How is accountability created? How is seriousness on a floor maintained? And none of these are soft questions. They are central questions. And for remote traders, the implication is just as important. So let me close with this. When a trader leaves the floor and starts to underperform, maybe the question is not, why did this person stop being good? Maybe the better question is, what part of their intelligence was living in the floor? Because maybe the floor was not just where they worked. Maybe it was part of how they thought. The embodiment paper helps explain why intelligence depends on internal and external loops of regulation and interaction. Dennett gives us the evolutionary metaphor. Major leaps in capability may happen through joining, not isolation. And Chalmers gives us the philosophical framework. Cognition may extend beyond the individual into the environment. You put these two together, the message is very powerful. Some of the highest levels of performance are not purely individual achievements. They are relational achievements. They emerge from the coupling of person, environment, rhythm, tools, culture, and other minds. And if that is true, then the future of trader development is not just about producing stronger individuals. It is about designing better cognitive ecosystems. Maybe the floor was never just a room. Maybe it was a rare, productive symbiosis. And maybe that is why so many traders struggle when they leave it.